Hi, hello, it's Nikki, and welcome to my messy bookshelf. Today I am here with a book haul, and maybe a little extensive, but it's actually a couple of book hauls in one. I have books that I got for Valentine's Day because romance. You know, my husband knows the weight of my heart. Some that I bought myself since Valentine's Day, and then some that I bought today because my father sent me book money for my birthday, so thank you, Dad. He's not subscribed to me, so he won't see that, but anyway. I also have a library book and a couple from thrift books. So I will get started with the thrift books and the library book. So from the library, I actually, in my last wrap up, I mentioned that I was reading the group read for the middle grade March event. And I liked it, but I didn't love it. But I wanted to know what happened next. And someone had suggested, actually it was Jonathan from Mr. Pearson. Mr. Pearson Talks books. I always want to say reads books. But this is Max in the Land of Lies by Adam Gidwitz. And he had said that this book is, the second book is much better. And I started reading it and I have to agree. I'm already pretty hooked on this book. So this follows book number 1 that I read last week, where Max was sent to England and now he has returned to Berlin as a spy. And this book already is more gritty and dark, and the two little characters, the kobold and the Dybbuk, are much more enjoyable in this book so far. So I am interested to see how this book is going to play out. So he is sent to Berlin as a spy, as a child, and it's already good. So I think I'm going to like this one way more than I did the first one. And you were right, Jonathan. You were right. All right. The next one that I have here is one that I got from Thrift Books, and this is The Mistress of Mellyn by Victoria Holt. Victoria Holt is a pen name. I am collecting all of the Victoria Holt books because I have read all of the books under this pen name and 2 of her other pen names. She had a bunch of pen names. The author is Eleanor Hibbert, but she wrote under different pen names, and each of her pen names were a different genre. So Victoria Holt, she writes romantic, gothic, suspense. So this is very much, all of the books that she writes under this pen name are very much in the style of Jane Eyre, usually involving a governess, a murder, some sort of crime, and or a mystery that is somewhere in the background. And this one is a governess going to a manor in Cornwall to care for a very precocious little girl and, of course, the mysterious father. But they are very good. They are very good. And these are very nostalgic for me because we didn't have a whole bunch of books in my house when I was growing up, like that we owned. But my mother did own a couple of the Victoria Holt books, and we read and read and reread those books so many times. So these are books that I typically read when I don't know what to read. So I have reread them many times. And like I said, I am collecting them. Whenever I see them on eBay or thrift books, I pick them up. So yeah, this one was very good. All right, the next one is also from Thrift Books, and this is the Merlin Trilogy by Mary Stewart, and I devoured Mary Stewart's books when I was a teenager, but they were all from the library, and I noticed my fantasy shelf is looking pretty bare because most of the fantasy that I've read is, or were, books from the library. So I wanted to own these ones, and this is the trilogy, and this is about, obviously, Merlin, and it's the Arthurian story from Merlin's perspective. So I loved these books when I was a teenager, so I'm very happy to have them on my shelf. Alrighty, the next one is one, this one I got as a pre-order and I already read it, so you saw this already in my wrap-up. Strange Buildings by Uketsu. creepy, interesting, intriguing, and lots of weird pictures that you have to try and figure out how they're connected. So I won't say any more about that because I've already talked about it. The next one I have is a historical fiction by Geraldine Brooks, and this is Year of Wonders. I loved People of the Book by her, and this one is about when the plague returned to England in the late 17th century. And yeah, we are following a young woman and the plague. So I don't know everything that happens in here, obviously, but yeah, I love stories about that time period, so I wanted to read this one as well. And then I have here The Turn of the Screw by Henry James. I wanted a ghost story, and I've never read it, and I wanted a ghost story, so hopefully it delivers, because I've been craving a good ghost story lately. So the next one, so I was watching, before I went for my to spend my birthday book money, I was watching Lauren and Ben over at The Youngs and the Restless, and I did get a couple of recommendations from their video. I didn't find any of the books that I wrote down from their video. However, she was talking about the Queens of Mystery, Lauren was, and I was thinking to myself, I've actually never read anything by Dorothy Sayers, so I picked up 2 books by Dorothy Sayers. I have been an Agatha Christie stan for basically my whole life, so I think it's time that I try one of the other masters, the other Queens of Mystery. So I picked up this short story collection and this Peter Wimsey mystery. So I don't know anything other than the fact that I've heard of Dorothy Sayers, and I've always heard her compared to Agatha Christie, and yeah, here we are. I love a good mystery. And then the next one is How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents by Julia Alvarez. And this is about a family that comes to the US, New York City, from the Dominican Republic, escaping a horrible regime in the Dominican Republic. And the sisters in this family assimilating into American life and losing that sense of their culture. And this is something that really resonates with me, and I know it resonates with my husband as well. So let me read. So the Garcia sisters must flee their home in the Dominican Republic, and they arrive in New York City to a life far removed from their existence in the Caribbean. By straightening their hair and wearing American fashions, and by forgetting their Spanish. And this is something, like I said, that resonates with me and my husband. My family did not escape a horrible regime. They came here for medical care from Puerto Rico because it is a territory of the US. But like my husband's family, they're from Cuba. My grandmother-in-law was escaping Fidel when she came over. So it's something that we always talk about, how we're sort of in between, you know, we still have family back there and we live here and we are very Americanized, and yeah, it's something we talk about all the time. And on that note, my next book that I have here is actually one that my husband bought me for Valentine's Day, and this is Pride and Prejudice in Spanish. Because one of my goals this year was to read more books actually in Spanish. So that, of course, would be books from Latin American authors, not translated, but I thought it would be easier for me to read books that I already know that are written in Spanish. So chose this. I also have a book that I bought in Spain, actually, and it's an Agatha Christie. I think it's The Murder on the Orient Express. Words are hard today. But yeah, I do plan on reading more books that are actually in Spanish. I would like to read Don Quixote in Spanish as well at some point. The next one I have here is very fun. I got this recommendation from Cliff at Cliff's Dark Gems, and this is Dungeon Crawler Carl. And it just sounds so fun. And this is essentially a story about a guy who gets thrown into a sim. Basically, the apocalypse happens because aliens have destroyed Earth. Excuse me. And he and the survivors are placed in a sim, and he is trying to survive with his ex's cat named Princess Donut. And it just sounds so fun. Sounds very fun. We watch a lot of shows about people that are placed in like sims, or that they are placed in a video game of some sort. So yeah, this sounded right up my alley. And you know, the dungeon. We like Dungeons and Dragons in our house. So the next one is a cozy mystery that I've heard about for years already, and I finally decided to pick this one up, and this is Shady Hollow. And this is set in the village of Shady Hollow, and it is populated by adorable animals. And our sleuth in this book is a reporter named Vera Vixen? Yeah, Vera Vixen. So she is a fox, and she is investigating a murder in their cozy little village. And I haven't read a cozy mystery in a while, so keep hearing good things about this, and no one that I have seen has ever said anything bad about this book. All right, the next one that I have here is one. So I have been frequenting the banned books table a lot at my bookstore, and they always keep it there. And, you know, they'll move the books around, add new books to it. But this one, I've heard of it, obviously, but I've never read it. And this is The Trial by Kafka. And it's about a guy who is placed in jail, I believe, for a crime that he doesn't commit. He doesn't even know why he's placed in jail. So he is supposed to be defending himself, not knowing what he's been accused of. And this one kind of drew me because I am reading The Count of Monte Cristo. I know it's nothing like that, but sort of on the same lines, being thrown into jail for something you know you didn't do. The next one I have here, and we are getting to the end of our stack here. The next one that I have is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I think that's how you say that name. And heard of this one before, but I didn't realize that it was a true crime novel, or a true crime book. And this is investigating a massacre, a family massacre in Kansas. And I love true crime. That is one of my other things that I spend a lot of time on, is true crime podcasts and true crime documentaries. So, heard of it. Here we are. And then the last book that I have here in my stack is one that basically everyone has read except me. And I heard Sue Jackson talking about this book the other day, and I don't know, the way that she was talking about it, I hadn't heard anyone describe it the way that she did, and it made me want to pick this book up. And this is James by Perceval Everett. I know that it is following the perspective of Jim from the Huckleberry Finn book, and it's from his perspective, and it just sounded so intriguing the way that Sue described it. So, and I just realized there was another book I picked up because Sue recommended it, and one moment please, I put it on the shelf without putting it in my stack here. One moment please. And this book is Good People by Patmeena Sabit, and I also heard Sue talking about this book, and it made me want to read it. And when I saw it, I was like, yes, please. So this book is about a family of immigrants that emigrate to the United States, and they work very hard and are able to make a very good life for themselves. And they keep to their culture, but they live in the US. And the kids go to the best schools, and they are very well off. And one of the daughters does something or commits some sort of crime that goes against their culture. And people on the outside are wondering, do they really live that perfect life, that perfect facade that they show to the world outside. So it sounded very intriguing to me, and you know, I like a good family saga and a good mystery, so it sounded up my alley. So yeah. And then the last thing I picked up was, this was this was my birthday gift to myself, okay? I saw it and I fell in love, and some of you who have been here for a while know why this appeals to me so much. But I found this adorable box set, Stories for Seafarers, and it has 3 books in it. Adventures on the High Seas. So we have Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, of course. My daughter has an abridged copy of that book upstairs in her room. I don't think I own a copy of that. I do not own a copy of that. H.G. Wells' The Sea Lady, which I've never heard of, and I love H.G. Wells. And then I do own a paperback copy of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne. But, I mean, it's stories for seafarers, and I not only have I been a seafarer, but I love adventure on the high seas, and this made me so happy. It was the only one in the store, and I am in love with it. I'm in love. So yes, I did splurge. Well, I didn't. It was actually not that expensive, but I did purchase this for me. So yeah. I thank you so much if you made it to the end of this video. I would love to hear if you've read any of these books, which one I should read first, though I'm probably going to read Dungeon Crawler Carl first, because I planned on reading this in April. But we'll see. I'm excited. I'm very excited, but thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next video. Take care.